Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Our class is going to be a 50-minute Hatha style practice that is inspired by the element of earth. And we'll be harnessing qualities such as strength, stability, focus, and calm. Holding postures for a little bit longer and really building that strength through our legs whilst focusing on our connection to the earth throughout the practice. If you know that you like to use blocks, then grab them and I'll see you on the mat. Today's class is going to start in child's pose. Wide knees, big toes touching. We'll walk the hands out in front, slowly lowering the chest down. Feeling the weight of the hips pressing towards the earth. Eventually the forehead will lower, closing down the eyes. Spreading all 10 fingers and placing them down on the mat. And take 3 deep breaths in through the nose, filling up the back of the lungs. And then when you exhale, feel the body sink down closer to the earth. Inhaling, breathe energy into the hands, into the fingertips. Spine is extending, and then exhaling, body relaxes, sinking these gentle movements in with the breath, arriving here on our mat. Our next inhale will come forward, bringing the shoulders over the hands and keeping the knees wide. The big toes can stay touching here. Just going to make some circles with the hips, lowering the hips back down to the heels. And then coming up through the other side. Warming up through the hip bones and through the shoulders. We'll inhale to come forward. And then exhale to come back. Maybe changing the direction of the circle now. You might like to come through center and arch the spine like we would in our cat pose. And then lower the belly. Gaze looks up slightly, like a bit of a moving cow shape. Taking any shapes here that feel nice. Noticing where you need to pay a little bit more attention. Hands pressed down into the mat. Feeling the points of contact underneath you, and the tops of the feet and the knees. We'll take one more round, evening out wherever you are. Bringing the knees hip widths apart now. And then lowering the chest down between the elbows, staying wrapped in towards the midline. Keeping the belly engaged and lowering slowly all the way down to the mat. Eventually the belly, chest, and forehead touch the mat. Tops of the feet will press into the earth, and that will cause the knees to lift, activating through the legs. Press into the hands just below the shoulders and lift the chest. Feeling the back body activate here. Slight tuck of the chin. Exhaling to lower the chest back down through center. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhaling. Baby cobra. Exhaling, every vertebrae down one at a time. Pressing through the tops of the feet, inhaling, long spine. Exhaling, coming all the way back down. This time we'll press into the hands, tuck the toes, and coming through knees here or lifting up through plank and pressing the hips up and back to downward facing dog. One big breath in here and exhaling it out. I invite you to close the eyes down whenever we come into downward facing dog during this practice. Really feeling into the shape, feeling into the points of contact with the earth, spreading the fingertips wide, even weight through both palms. It doesn't matter if the heels touch the mat, but energy drawing down through the heels, reaching towards the mat, elongating through the back of the legs, lifting up through both side bodies. Tailbone reaches towards the ceiling. Another round of breath here, feeling strong and stable in this shape. Then we're bending the knees, coming onto the balls of the feet. Gaze looks forward at the hands. And we'll step one foot and then the other. Coming up to the top of the mat in a halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Fingertips can be on the mat or up on the shins. Belly draws in slightly towards the spine. And then exhaling, we'll fold over the legs. You might keep a gentle bend in the knees here, just while we're warming up. Making it a bit easier on the hamstrings and the lower back. We'll take a hold of opposite elbows, coming into a ragdoll. Allowing the back of the neck to be really long. Crown of the head reaches towards the floor. Eyes closed down here. Simply letting gravity provide us with this beautiful stretch through the whole back body. And we'll blink the eyes open, taking a nice bend through both knees. Inhaling to lift the arms up overhead, coming to stand. Palms meet overhead and the gaze can look up at the thumbs. And we'll exhale to bring both hands through heart center. Hands rest down by our sides. Coming into Tadasana, mountain pose at the top of the mat. We'll look down at the feet, hip width apart. Energy drawing up through the earth, lifting the muscles above the knees. Tailbone reaches slightly down towards the mat, which in turn draws the hip bones and the ribs together, energizing through the belly. We'll inhale to lift the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale to slide the scapula down the back. Feeling the crown of the head reaching tall here, standing strong and steady like our mountain. Taking a nice, smooth round of breath. Energizing with our inhale. And grounding with our exhale. Blinking the eyes open, inhaling. Arms come up overhead, palms touch. Exhaling, folding down from the hips. Palms come to the mat or to the shins for halfway lift. Inhale, crown of the head reaches forward. And then exhaling to fold over the legs. Inhaling, halfway lift. One more time. Belly draws to the spine. And then this time we're going to step the left foot back to a 45 degrees. Heel to heel alignment here. And then I'm setting up for Veerabhadrasana 1. So we'll be light on the fingers. Our next inhale rises the chest up. And exhale to settle into the right knee. Noticing if we can draw the left hip forward slightly, squaring through the hips. Right hip wraps back behind. Fingertips reach tall and the spine is really long. Feel the back blade edge of the left foot drawing away from the leg, while the front of the hip reaches forward. So it's almost this alternating movement with the back leg. One more inhale. And then exhaling, opening the chest out towards the left-hand side. Right fingertips come forward, left fingertips face back. Warrior 2. So we'll adjust the back foot so that it's parallel to the back edge of the mat. Looking down at the foundation here with the legs. Opening the right knee out so there's external rotation in the hip. And just making sure that the right knee is tracking over the right middle toe. Settling with our exhale breath. Gaze looks over the right middle finger. Back of the neck is long. Strong, stable warriors here. Very strong through the legs. Legs will stay the same. We'll flip the front palm. Left hand comes to the left thigh. Exalt our warrior. Right fingertips sweep up to the ceiling. Inhaling into the right ribs. Staying here for one round of breath. Exhaling to commit into the lunge a little bit more. We'll inhale, reach the fingertips even higher. And then exhale to cartwheel both hands down to frame the front foot. Rotating on the back toes. And then we'll step the right foot back to meet the left. Pressing the hips up and back into our downward facing dog. Breath in here. And a breath out. Bending through the knees, coming to the balls of the feet. Looking forward at the hands. We will step forward with the opposite foot this time. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, folding over the legs. Bend in the knees, inhale to rise up to stand, palms meet overhead. And then exhaling, hands come through heart center and rest at our sides. 2 rounds of breath in our Tadasana mountain shape. Closing down the eyes. Feeling the contact with the earth. Feet press into the earth. And the earth presses back. We'll blink the eyes open here. Inhaling, sweeping the hands up overhead. Exhaling, folding forward at the hips. Inhale to halfway lift. And then exhale. This time the right foot steps back, 45 degrees, preparing to stand up into our Veerabhadrasana 1 with our inhale breath. Exhale settles us into the shape. And then maybe bringing the hands to the hips and feeling the right hip draw forward as the left hip draws back. Settling into the lunge, one more breath. Strong through the back leg, feeling both feet pressed down evenly. Inhaling, lifting the fingertips up a little bit taller. And then exhaling, opening out to our warrior 2 to the right hand side. Adjusting the feet as you need to. Maybe looking down and checking that the front heel is aligning with the middle of the back foot. Sinking into the left knee. Relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. Gaze looks over the front middle finger And the back of the neck feels long here. Crown of the head is drawing up towards the ceiling. Our next inhale breath will flip the left palm, sweep the fingertips up overhead. Legs stay the same here. Gaze can look up at the fingertips if it's comfortable for the neck. Inhaling breath into the left ribs. Exhaling to stay, maybe coming a little bit lower in the lunge. We inhale energy through the left fingertips. And exhale, sweep both arms over and around to frame the left foot. Step the left foot back. Downward facing dog. Well done. Now, just as we have before, coming onto the balls of the feet, bending the knees and looking forward at the hands, we'll step one foot forward and then the other, lifting the chest, reaching through the crown of the head to inhale, and then exhaling, forward fold. A little bend in the knees here as we inhale to rise the hands up overhead. And then exhale, we're going to fold all the way back down this time. Inhaling, halfway lift. And then exhaling, stepping our left foot back to a 45. Inhaling, arms come up overhead. Veerabhadrasana 1, just for a transition. We'll exhale, interlacing the hands behind the lower back. Inhaling to broaden through the chest, finding a nice opening across the front of the chest. Maybe taking a little bit of a back bend here if it feels good. And then exhaling to fold forward, coming into a humble warrior. The chest is inside the right knee. Crown of the head reaches long. And even weight is pressing into both feet, really strong through the legs. Breathing here. If the arms is too much for you, then you can let go of the hands and rest the hands just below the shoulders, giving some support, or even bringing the hands to the hips here is a fine option. We'll take one more round of breath. Exhaling. Rotating the feet now so that the outside of the feet is parallel to the short edges of the mat. Walking the hands around in front, taking our Prasarita Tanasana, a wide-legged forward fold. You might like to keep the bind of the hands opening through the chest a little bit here, or bringing the hands below the shoulders. Can help support, making the spine feel really long. Weight is slightly forward in the balls of the feet. We'll close down the eyes here. Crown of the head is reaching down towards the mat. The back of the neck is long. And we'll use our inhales to really extend through the spine. Tailbone lifts here. And then exhale, allowing the body to fold forward maybe a little bit further. Maybe the hands take a grip of the ankles here. And you can always have a slight bend in the knees to help support the joint. One more breath. Exhaling here. Inhale, hands come to the hips, and we'll rise the chest all the way up to stand. Coming up nice and slow, allowing the blood to settle back down. We'll keep the left hand on the left hip, rotating the right toes forward, and the right fingertips will extend out in front, coming into Trikonasana. Spine grows long, right fingertips reach out in front, and the hips start to lean slightly backwards. And then folding over the leg, shoulders stack. The right hand can come to the inside of the right shin. You might like to take a block here for some extra support, or rest the hand on the shin gently. If it feels alright to stack the shoulders and extend the left fingertips up towards the sky, then please do so. Gaze can follow the left fingertips. And we'll bring our attention to the legs, lifting up through the quads, drawing energy in through both feet, feeling really strong, pressing into the earth. And then see if you can lift through the hips. So we're not sinking into the joints, but rather lifting up, feeling really strong and supported. One more breath, inhaling, reaching tall with our left fingertips. Exhaling to settle. And then we'll take a soft bend to support the right knee, lifting the right fingertips up overhead, coming into a reverse triangle shape. Left hand comes to the top of the left shin or thigh. Gaze can look up at the fingertips. Inhaling, long body. Right side feels really tall. And then exhale, bending through the right knee. Taking our warrior two just for a transition. Inhaling here. And exhaling. Both hands circle around to frame the right foot. And we'll step it back, lifting the hips up to downward facing dog. Adho Mukta Svanasana. Few rounds of breath in our downward dog. Resettling, re-grounding. Maybe feeling a little bit more space than you did in some of the earlier down dog. And just noticing any changes in the body so far. Coming onto the balls of the feet, bending through both knees, lowering them down towards the mat, just hovering above. And then the gaze looks forward at the hands, stepping the left foot forward this time, and then the right foot, or whichever one was the opposite. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, fold over the legs. Bend in the knees. Inhale, we rise to stand. Palms touch overhead. Exhale, folding all the way back down. We'll come straight through the other side now. Inhaling, halfway lift. This time our right foot steps back. 45-degree angle. Grounding through the feet, strong legs. Bend in the left knee. Chest rises, fingertips up towards the ceiling. Warrior one. Inhale here. And then exhale to bring both hands behind the lower back, interlacing the fingers, maybe swapping which finger is on top, playing with the subtle coordination. We'll inhale to broaden through the chest. Still feeling really strong here through the legs. So even though we're doing a lot with the upper body, the legs are pressing into the earth, lifting energy, strong and stable. Folding the chest down with our exhale breath. Again, keeping the bind of the hands here only if it feels good. Crown of the head reaches forward. Maybe coming in a little bit deeper into the left knee. And we'll exhale, lowering the hands this time, walking the hands around to the right long side of the mat. And the feet are going to adjust so that the heels are in slightly and the toes are out slightly. Inhale, lifting the fingertips up towards the ceiling, stacking the shoulders on top of the hips, coming into our goddess pose. So hands can come to touch at the heart center. Maybe shutting down the eyes here. breathing into the shape, breathing into the quads. The legs are working here, they're strong. Holding here for one more breath, maybe sinking a little bit lower in the hips. Chest is broad, tailbone reaches down towards the mat. We'll circle our hands with an inhale up to the ceiling, extending through both legs. And then exhale, hands come through heart center, re-bending into the legs. We'll move through that a couple times, inhaling to stand. Exhaling to lower, synchronizing movement with breath. Really nice. Inhaling, coming up to stand. This time adjusting the feet so that the back foot is parallel to the back edge and the front foot is pointing forward on the mat. We'll come into our Trikonasana, triangle pose. Right hand can stay on the right hip for now, and the left fingertips are going to extend out in front. Long spine as we inhale and reach the fingertips forward slightly now. Exhaling, coming all the way down. Maybe fingertips come to a block or the inside of the left calf. Opening the chest, so we're stacking the shoulders. Then perhaps we lift the right fingertips up towards the sky here. Gaze can look up at the fingertips if it feels good for the neck. And then bring the attention back to the legs. See if you can find a lift through the hip bones, through the knee joints, buoyant through all of the joints. And then see if you can find a little bit more length through both side bodies. Breathing through the shape here. One more round of breath. You got this. Inhaling, light and long spine. And exhaling to settle. And then we'll inhale, right hand to right hip, sweeping the left fingertips up overhead, reverse triangle. Noticing the length created now down the left side of the body, feeling that space all the way from the left fingertips down through the ribs, through the left hip, all the way through the leg. And then exhaling, we'll bend through our left knee. Both hands come out from the shoulders, warrior two. Stay for our inhale. Elongate the spine. And then exhale, cartwheel both hands now to frame the left foot. Stepping that left foot all the way back to down dog. Couple breaths here. Pressing even weight through both hands. Arms are long and strong. And the biceps are wrapping under here, allowing the shoulders to draw down away from the ears. Side bodies long, extending the tailbone up towards the ceiling. And this is our final down dog shape for the practice. So finding how it's evolved from the start. Feeling really strong and stable. We'll lift up onto the balls of the feet. Bend through the knees and look forward, stepping one foot and then the other. Uttanasana, fingertips to the mat or to the shins. Inhale here. Exhale to fold over the legs. Inhale, coming to stand. Fingertips reach up towards the sky. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Tadasana at the top of the mat. You might like to open the feet a little bit wider so that they're the width of the hips. Grounding through both feet. And just settling the body. Settling the breath. and settling the mind. Enjoying the feeling of energy in the body that's been created through this movement. And taking the time to allow that energy to absorb. And softly blink the eyes open if they were closed. We're coming through a couple rounds of tree pose, so I'm going to move to the middle of my mat so that I can face the front, but you're happy and welcome to stay at the top of the mat. Grounding through the feet. And we'll bring the weight into our left foot to start, lifting the right foot up, placing it somewhere on the inside of the thigh, the calf, or the ankle, and you can keep the toes on the ground if the balance isn't really working for you today. Feeling free to perhaps take a hold and help the leg up. Finding your balance here. We're grounding through the standing leg. The left foot is strong. Palms come to touch at the heart center. And the right knee is opening outwards, so we're getting an external rotation through the internal thigh. Standing really tall and connecting with the breath. Finding a still point in front of us to focus the gaze, because this is called our drishti point. Allowing the gaze to be steady. Finding a sense of ease and peace in our tree pose. If you'd like to extend your branches up overhead, reaching the arms out and up to either side. And we can bring the pointer finger and the thumb to touch, coming into chin mudra. We'll take a couple more rounds of breath here. If you're wobbling, that's okay. If you fall out of the pose, it's okay. Just coming back into the shape with a sense of lightness and ease, letting it go and trying again. And then as you're ready to bring the hands back to heart center, the right knee will come in to center to 90 degrees and then place the foot down beside the left. And just take a moment in Tadasana, so grounding both legs down, shutting down the eyes, and just feeling this peaceful tranquility that's a result of that shape, that posture. Evening out the body. We'll bring the weight into our right foot this time, taking whichever variation of the legs that you like. I would even challenge people to try lifting up the foot without helping it and using the abdominal muscles, engaging through our mula bandha, lifting the leg, placing it down somewhere, avoiding the knee so that we're not pushing on the knee joint. And then once you've found a steady place, bringing the hands to heart center, finding that drishti point. And then just growing out through the right foot. So the right foot roots into the earth, and then the rest of the body really lifts and grows from that state. All the way up to the crown of the head, tall, strong tree. You might like to extend your branches out as we did before. And perhaps wobbling in the breeze, that's okay. Perhaps you find a moment of stillness and peace where Feels like the world around you stops and goes completely quiet, even just for a moment. Breathing here. And bring the hands back to heart center, coming slowly out of the shape just as we came in. So knee comes back to center, and then very gently placing the foot back down. Lower the hands by our sides. Taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. And back out through the nose. Inhaling, lifting the hands up overhead. Exhaling to fold, hands come through heart center. We inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, palms come to the mat, stepping both feet all the way back. Coming into a high plank just for a transition. We'll stay for a breath. Long, strong line of energy from the crown of the head all the way down to the heels. Belly draws in. And then we'll bend the knees, lowering the knees all the way down to the mat, untucking the toes, sitting back on the heels. And we'll just gather the palms in our lap, taking hero's pose, closing down the eyes. Noticing what it feels like to come down closer to the earth. Feeling more of your body in contact with the mat now. We worked nice and hard through the legs, so enjoying the bit of a stretch by sitting back on the heels. And both sit bones press down evenly into the heels. And the spine grows long from there. We'll take both hands to the right hand side and kick the legs out towards the left. The right foot can stay just beside the left hip, and we'll bring the left foot all the way around to the right hand side. Setting up to come into Ardha Matsendrasana, which is a seated twist. And the option is to keep the legs bent like this, or if you cannot get the sit bones to press down evenly into the mat, extending the right leg out in front and then drawing the toes back towards the face, helping to bring even weight down through the sit bones. And if you're having a bit of a hard time pressing the left foot down into the mat, it is okay to just bring the left foot inside the right knee. Setting yourself up in whatever shape serves you best today. And once you arrive there, pressing both sit bones down evenly to the mat, sitting up really tall. So we'll interlace the hands over the knee, lifting out of the hips, finding length first. And then the left hand comes down behind the left hip. Inhale to lift the right fingertips up overhead. And then exhale to hook the right elbow next to the left knee. You can also just take a hold of the knee if that's more comfortable. Inhaling to find length in the spine. And then exhaling to twist the chest open to the left hand side. The left hand is used as a bit of a kickstand, so encouraging length through the spine. We don't want to slump or arch back through the lower back. Finding a lift, almost like someone has a string and they're pulling the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. Twisting from the belly. You might like to look over the left shoulder if it's comfortable for the neck. Breath in here. And breath out. We use our inhale to take the gaze back towards the front of the mat, and then our exhale to unfurl the chest, squares back towards the front. Both hands come down to the right hand side, and we'll lower the chest towards the right, finding a counter twist. Just taking it as far as feels good for you. Come back up to seated. Taking Gomukhasana legs now, so I'm going to turn and face the camera so that you can see. Just stacking the knees as much as you can on top of each other. They might not meet exactly, and that's okay. And then the feet can be as close to the hips or farther away is going to be a bit more of an intense stretch through the hips. The more the shins come to parallel, the stronger the shape is. And then I just ask that you stay active in the feet to protect the knees. We'll ground through both sit bones, sitting really tall. And with any of these shapes, while we're winding down the practice, I do encourage you to close the eyes down and just really feel into the posture. Hopefully feeling a really nice stretch through the outer sides of the hips. If you'd like a little bit more, taking the hands to the earth in front of you, broaden through the collarbones, and then just walk the hands forward slightly, lowering the chest down, keeping the integrity of the spine though, so we don't just want to hunch the shoulders forward, but keeping the really nice long extension of the spine. 2 more rounds of breath here. Breathing into the stretch. Really nice. We'll bring the legs to the front of the mat, extending out in front. Taking Tadasana, staff pose, grounding both sit bones into the mat, drawing the toes back towards the face, and the hands can just be beside the hips. And it's a really subtle action with this shape, drawing the belly in, just activating through the legs, but then lifting through the spine, almost like you're becoming this strong staff, really, really engaged. Finding as much length as possible in this seated shape. And then we'll come through the other side. First, taking our twist. So this time the right foot is coming across the left leg, and you might bring the left foot beside the right hip or leave the foot extended. Up to you, interlacing the hands across the right knee. And the right big toe is plugging into the earth. Maybe already feeling a stretch through the hips. I know I'm feeling a nice stretch through the outside of the left hip already. Sitting up nice and tall. And then we'll place the right hand behind the right hip, creating that length, supporting the spine. Inhaling, left fingertips to the ceiling. Exhaling, left elbow comes beside the right knee. Chest opens to the right hand side, and we're twisting from the belly. So the sit bones are still pressing down really evenly into the mat, really grounding through the sit bones. Gaze can look over the right shoulder if it feels nice for the neck. Perhaps closing down the eyes here. We'll take a round of breath together. Finding a little more space with our exhalation. 1 more round. See if you can sit a little bit taller with your inhale. And then maybe peel the chest open a little bit further with your exhale. This time the inhale is going to bring just the gaze back over towards the left shoulder, looking at the front of the mat. And then exhale, turning the whole chest back. Both hands can come to the left side of the mat now, and we'll bow the chest forward, Taking a counter twist to the left hand side. We'll come back to center and set ourselves up to take Gomukhasana with the legs only. So stacking the knees as close to as we can, and then perhaps the heels are back to the hips, or perhaps shuffling them forward, bringing the shins a little bit closer to parallel. Whatever feels good for you. And then just staying active through the feet no matter which variation you're taking. And we'll bring the hands to the top of the knee first, just sitting really tall. And close down the eyes. Breathing into the stretch. And if you felt good on the other side to walk the hands forward, then please do so. Just making sure that the spine stays really long. So we're just folding from the hips, not arching through the back, leaning the chest forward at all, keeping the collarbones nice and broad. And this can be quite an intense stretch, so just finding the edge for your body today and then breathing into that stretch. Calming the breath lets the body know that we're not in a state of shock or danger. Relaxing into the stretch. And letting the body know that it's okay to relax as well. And take another long round of breath in through the nose. Exhaling through the nose. And then if you walk the hands forward, use the inhale to sit up tall once again. And we'll extend our legs out in front. Maybe shifting into the middle of the mat if you're closer towards the back. Legs both out in front, and the toes reach back towards the face, just as we did before in Tadasana. Both sit bones press down into the earth. We'll inhale, reaching the hands up overhead, sitting really tall. And then exhale, taking Pashimottanasana, forward fold. The hands might take a hold of the feet, or if not, that's completely fine. Just allowing the hands to settle at the shins, or perhaps even on the mat beside the legs. You might like to take a bend in the knees here, that's okay. Just finding a nice anterior tilt with the pelvis so that the spine can be as long as possible. Collarbones are nice and broad. We'll shut down the eyes here, finding length with our inhale, and a bit more space with an exhale. One more round of breath. Slowly sitting back up with our inhale breath. We'll bring the soles of the feet to the mat, bending through the knees. Hands can come to the back of the thighs. And we'll just slowly lower the body all the way down to the earth. Taking it nice and slow. Eventually feeling the weight of the body press all the way down onto the mat. And we'll bring the soles of the feet to touch, knees fall out to each side. Supta Baddha Konasana, with the right hand on the belly and the left hand on the heart. The heels can be further away from the pelvis for a little bit more space. Or if you'd like to take the stretch a little bit deeper, drawing the heels in closer to the pelvis. We'll find a sense of ease in this shape though, so we're really winding down, preparing for our final resting pose. Feeling the weight of the hips sinking down into the earth. And the outer seam of the legs draws down. Gravity creating a nice stretch through the inside of the hips. And with the rest of the body sinking down heavy into the mat, just notice the gentle pulsation of the breath coming in and out of the belly underneath the right hand. And then the option is to leave the hands on the body for our Shavasana pose, extending both legs out to the outer corners of the mat and allowing the feet to roll out. Leaving the hands on the body can feel really grounding and secure. Or if you'd like to take a more traditional Shavasana, bringing the arms out beside the body and the palms face up towards the sky. Whichever shape you choose, surrendering our whole body to the earth at this stage. Listening to the soft, steady sound of the breath. And with every exhalation, the body melts a little bit further into the earth.